We always start with TEA, which is our thoughts create our emotions, and our emotions create our actions. I've had people ask me before, where is this in the Bible? And to be honest with you, it's just hard not to find it in the Bible. There's a ton of verses we could go to. But to be honest with you, we can go to something very simple, which is if I remember right, in 1 Corinthians 13, the last time I went to a wedding, they quoted out of the love chapter. And I believe that's where the chapter is that talks about faith.
Did Marvin Gaye write that chapter?
Hope and love. It could be.
I think he did.
Now, if you look at these three words even, you see this same, we'll say, equation right here. Faith is something, you can't do faith and you can't feel faith. Faith is something that you believe, and a belief is something that occurs in your mind. Hope, you can feel hopeful, and you can feel hope. You can experience hope. Whether it's hope from this perspective of what some would call eschatology and the return of Christ, or if it's just hopefulness, it's certainly something that we can experience. Love, we get confused because a lot of people think love is a feeling. Love is not something that really is from a biblical concept. The kind of love we're talking about here is not really something that is a feeling at all. In fact, faith works itself out. Faith moves out into this working of love. So, for instance, here in Galatians, it says, "For in Christ Jesus neither circumcision nor uncircumcision means anything. However," Brent, I'm going to need you to just try testing different people to see where that clicking is coming from.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not coming from me. "For in Christ Jesus neither circumcision nor uncircumcision means anything, but faith working through love." It's interesting. Faith working through love. In other words, this faith finds itself coming out in real life in the action of love towards others. Love is an action that extends towards other people. And so even within the concept, these concepts that are very basic to our Christian life, faith, hope, and love, we see this connection between our thoughts and our emotions and our actions. You can't, as we may even talk about tonight, you can't do love if you don't have faith. You can't do real love if faith doesn't precede that love. See, and we won't get too far ahead of ourselves, but maybe we'll come back to that. Now, then what we do is we talk about these 4 steps. And the first step in the 4 steps is to identify the unhealthy emotion. And so we'll do just a little bit of this tonight. And then we'll, whoa, come on now, pen. And then what we're going to do is we're going to connect the unhealthy emotion with the thought that we're thinking that is connected to that unhealthy emotion. So let's just do 2 tonight. If you don't mind, throw out 2 unhealthy emotions, and then we're going to throw out 2 thoughts that relate to those particular emotions. And I'll try to get my word emotion here spelled right. And if you're unmuted, you can just say them, and if not, you can type them in.
Anxiety.
Okay, good. And one other unhealthy emotion? Anyone? And if you haven't had any unhealthy emotions in the last 2 weeks or so, then you probably are in the wrong webinar.
Anger. Oh, fear. Someone said fear.
Who said fear?
I did.
Okay,
Heather.
but Heather, okay. When you say I did, I can't see you. Okay, so anxiety and fear. So give me the thought or a thought that could create anxiety, and it doesn't even have to be the person that said anxiety. This is practice. This is not anything other than practice. So what's a thought that creates anxiety?
Financial, being able to pay all the bills. Financial.
Okay, so let's put that into a thought.
I can't pay all the bills.
Thank you. I can't pay all the bills. Okay, and what about fear? I need a thought that causes fear.
Mine would be my children are not going to be okay. All kinds of ways.
My children are, what, messed up? Do you really want to say that in front of your children? I mean, your children are right there in your house.
No, they're upstairs now. You can say they're messed up.
Oh, okay. They're not going to be okay. Okay. So this is exactly the process we go through, because remember, if we're experiencing these unhealthy emotions, the first thing we've got to do is go back to these thoughts and figure out, where is it? What are these thoughts that we're thinking that are causing these unhealthy emotions? And here we have a couple. We have unhealthy emotions of anxiety and fear, and here's the thought, I can't pay all the bills, and the fear, my children are not going to be okay. Now notice that in both of these circumstances, or both of these situations where there is anxiety and fear, we have one common thread occurring. And what is that common thread?
Predicting the future.
Sure.
Predicting the future, maybe?
Yeah, you're predicting the future. Something we can't do, but we think we can do. And so the distortion within the thought is something very simple, like predict that, you can't pay all the bills. Well, when you're thinking that you can't pay all the bills, you are predicting the future. You don't know if you can pay all the bills or not. Some of you might be thinking, well, of course I know if I can pay all the bills, and the fact is I can't pay all the bills. But anytime you look forward from this moment on and then start worrying over something that's going to happen in the future that you don't know that's going to happen, the thought distortion is in the predicting the future. I am going to go back here. Okay. And then the same with this one here. Fear comes from my children are not going to be okay. The distortion within that thought, or certainly one of those distortions, is predicting the future. However, what we like to do is take it one step further, because this might be distortion, but it doesn't really solve the belief. We've talked about this before. Where there's the action up here that comes from our emotions, and here's our thought, and then here's our belief. This pin's kind of making me crazy tonight. Okay, and then we have a belief that supports our thought. So this thought, I can't pay all the bills, or my children are not going to be okay, is what falls into this category right here. And we can see the distortion that comes from those. But here's the bigger question. The bigger question is, what is the belief that is embedded within us that's causing this thought to occur, that then moves out into anxiety, and ultimately the anxiety or fear then moves to unhealthy actions? That's what we're really trying to find. We're really trying to see, a psychologist can get you to here. A psychologist can say, okay, what's your actions, what's your emotions, what's your thought? And to a certain degree, a psychologist may be able to start understanding some underlying belief, but there's no solution to it. And that's what we do. We talk about what's the belief. So here, I can't pay all the bills might be a distortion of future fortune telling or predicting the future. But the bigger question is, what's the belief behind that thought that's causing so much anxiety? And what is, yeah.
Sorry,
Please.
can you go back to the facade Maslow hierarchy of needs right there?
Yeah, which is not exactly what it is, but it kind of looks like it.
Well, we have some folks on the line, though, that are psych majors, and if you really think about belief, thought, emotion, action. We talk about the top of the pyramid being self-actualization, and the bottom part of the pyramid is all the things that we need in order to get there. And I kind of like the parallel that it does start with a belief and our thought, and we do have to have the wider base of the pyramid in place in order for our ultimate actions to be healthy. So it's kind of a cool parallel.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
You know,
Yeah, it's a good metaphor.
yeah.
So then what we do next is we ask ourselves, okay, how can I move from this thought to figuring out what the belief is that's causing me so much turmoil up in this area? That is Lisa's dog. Welcome home. Okay, that's usually what happens when the pizza guy shows up at my house. All right, so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to move from I can't pay all the bills to a belief that is distorted, or not distorted, but a belief that's not true, that's causing this process to occur. Because this is what the enemy wants to do. The enemy wants to shoot this belief at you, this lie in your head, so you will freak out with anxiety and fear. That's his whole goal. And what our goal is to figure out what is it behind I can't pay all the bills. What is the belief behind that? Now, this is where Lives Transforming really comes in, because there's a number of ways to do this. And I'm going to put this up on the website. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to make it bigger.
Yep.
Because, well, I'm going to try to make it bigger. We're going to try to make it twice as big. And I'm going to try to move my head out of the way. Okay. This is very powerful and interesting worksheet that I haven't really introduced before to this group. There's probably 30 or 40 different, we're calling them techniques, but techniques probably isn't a good word for this, but for lack of a better term right now. The goal of these techniques, and there's probably, like I say, 30, 40 of these, is helping us move away from a distorted or an untrue belief into a true belief. Okay? So let me do one that's very easy. And I just kind of wanted to make these bigger so you could kind of get an idea. I'm going to make them smaller and grab a couple here. Excuse me, I got to move a few things out of the way of my... Okay, now I'm on a roll here. Okay, so for instance, something very simple could be, for this particular distortion, could be examine the evidence. I can't pay all the bills. Well, examining the evidence could help you realize that, you're saying that and it's making you feel horrible, but at the end of the day, it's not really true. It's just that you're not being able to buy everything you want to buy. So that may help you see the distortion in there. But what we're looking for is something much deeper than that. We're looking for a belief, okay? And so let me find one here that I would probably use. Okay. Here's a good one. This individual downward arrow. Okay, now we're not obviously going to be able to go through these tonight, but I just kind of want to show you what's going on with this. So this individual downward arrow technique would look something like this. Okay, we're going to go to a different screen, and I'm going to talk to Lisa. I'll just talk to you, but anybody can chime in. Here's the deal. I'm worried about I can't pay all the bills. That's the thought. So the question would be what would happen if you don't pay all the bills?
Well,
Or your credit rating?
I mean,
Okay, credit rating is...
yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, I would have to use credit card, credit rating, they'd turn off the electricity.
Okay, let's just start with a few. Credit rating is bad. Okay, so here's the thing. If your credit rating is bad, why would that bother you?
Because then I wouldn't be able to get loans in the future or...
Okay, that's good. And then if you can't get loans in the future, why would that bother you?
Then I wouldn't be able to take care of basic needs for the girls, perhaps, with
Like an emergency situation.
where they live, college, emergency situation, yeah.
Okay, can't get college for kids. And then if you can't get college for your kids, why would that bother you?
Because then they'll be stupid.
Okay.
I'll have
I'm going to keep
stupid
going here.
kids.
Okay, and then why would it bother you if you had stupid kids?
Because then that means I'm a stupid mom.
Okay. Now,
Oh.
I know how ridiculous this sounds at first, because most of us don't have the guts to ask, if you don't pay your bills, what happens? We'll ask that, of course, and then people will give you like 50 things, okay? But then after they ask, after you say, well, my credit rating will go bad, that's where we stop. And unfortunately, when we stop in that moment, we don't get to the underlying belief that's causing the real issue. This is called the downward arrow technique. Again, there's 30 or 40 of these different things that you can do to move from your thought down to the belief that the enemy's throwing at you that cause you so much consternation. Here, we just use this one. You know, there is no one better than the other. They're all a little different. I'll use another one in the same way here in a second, or I'll use another one in a different way with the same circumstance here in a second. We'll use the devil's advocate technique in just a minute. But you can see what happens. At first it starts sounding logical. Well, my credit rating will go bad. Why does that bother you? Well, I can't, I won't be able to get loans. Well, why would that bother you? Well, I won't be able to provide for kids' college education. And so far you're still going, yeah, that would bother me, and that would be horrible, and that would, well, then if you can't get the kids a college education, then what? Then it's like, well, then they would be stupid, or they wouldn't be able to get loans on their own, or they wouldn't be able to work themselves through school, and then why would that bother you? Because then I'm not a good mom, then I'm not, see what happens? What we've done is we've uncovered, by using the downward arrow technique, we've uncovered the belief that absolutely is based on a lie. And because at the end of the day, if you can't, do you really believe, let me ask you this, do you really believe anyone, let's do it better here, because that's not really a letter. And I don't know why that happens. I'm going to have to practice with this pen. Okay, here's the deal. Any mom who can't give their kids a college education or pay for the college education is a stupid mom. Okay. Now, that's a little more difficult to stomach. Over here, this is easy to stomach, because here's what the enemy wants to do. What if you don't pay all your bills? Then your credit rating is going to be horrible. And if your credit rating is horrible, then you're not going to be able to get any loans. And then you're not going to be able to pay for your kids' college. You're going to be a horrible mom. Okay? That's what he's doing. But then when we think about it and put it in writing and say, okay, so you're saying then, Satan, that any mom who can't give kids a college education is a stupid mom? I'm thinking I don't really get that. I don't know that I can connect that to being something that's true. But notice what we did. We just simply took the thought, and it's a way of moving us back towards the belief. Okay? The problem is, most of us, when we're getting attacked by the enemy, what if I don't pay my bills? And all this anxiety is coming up, because we know, again, anxiety is not coming from God. Anxiety is coming from Satan. As I've said before, Jesus Christ is not the prince of anxiety. He's the prince of peace. And if you're not experiencing peace, then the enemy is grabbing on and moving you towards the opposite of peace, which is anxiety. Now, this is a way to get to the belief system that's causing such a mess. And I really think now my pen is possessed. And I don't know for sure what to do about it. So, anyways, that's what we did. We went to the belief. Now, let's do it a different way. Why am I doing this, by the way? I'm doing this for a couple reasons. One, I want you to be able to know when you're experiencing this kind of anxiety, whoops, back here, I want you to be able to know how to get back to the belief right here and tell the enemy to go back to hell where he belongs. Because quite frankly, this is the most ridiculous thing, well, one of the most ridiculous. Any mom who can't give their kids a college education is a stupid mom. I mean, that doesn't make any sense at all. But underlying what is going on, this is a great example of a belief system that the enemy would love for you to believe. Okay? So we go through this exercise called the downward arrow technique. We go through this exercise for two reasons. One, to help you move towards a belief that's causing you so much problems. Because the truth is, whether a mom provides an education for their kids in college, which could cost up to $100,000 or more or less or whatever, whether a mom provides that education or not, doesn't make her a stupid mom. A stupid what? That doesn't make any sense at all. You can be an incredible mom without, my mom didn't, well, that's not a good example because my mom, no, never mind. My mom didn't pay for my college education, and I don't consider my mom stupid. All right? All right, so you get the point. Now,
You better not.
let's do something else with this. Instead of using this downward arrow technique, because now the second reason is because when you're talking with someone, see, in Matthew 28:19, we're told to go make disciples. The problem is we don't really know what that means. What I'm suggesting it means is helping people grab the thoughts that they're thinking, helping people go back to the belief, the lies that they're believing, and helping them facilitating an environment where they can see that, wait, these are lies from the enemy, because when we turn away from the lies and to the truth, we're free. And discipleship is about creating safe environments where people can move towards freedom. They can move towards Christ. They can move towards truth. God is truth. Okay. So the second reason is if we understand this little downward arrow technique, we know we can then take it and work with other people and do exactly what Matthew 28:19 suggests, which is go and make disciples. Create an environment where people can move closer to God, closer to His truth, and that truth will set them free. All right, now we're going to do a different one. I'm going to pull my little Word document back up again. And that was called individual downward arrow. There's another one in here called this devil's advocate technique. So we're going to use that right now. And we're going to try this again using that technique. Now, this may not be something that will be a benefit to Lisa, but we're going to act like it is, and we're going to see what happens. And you have to make sure, using this particular technique, that the person that you're talking to actually knows that you're teasing, actually knows that you're actually doing something here that is on purpose and not something that you do just, you're going to really make people mad using this technique if you don't disclaim it first. Go ahead, Lisa.
It's kind of like an exaggeration or taking things to the extreme to highlight the point.
Right.
And I think that's part of it.
That's right. And so we'll do it here real quick, you and I, Lisa.
Yeah, wouldn't you say it's usually someone you have a trust, relationship with?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And you just got 2 points for saying that. So that's what that noise was. The so
Is
yeah.
there anything you can't hear?
I can hear everything.
Everything.
I can hear everything. These earphones are amazing. All right, so here's what we want to do with this one. So let's say I'm talking to you, Lisa, because actually I am. And let's say that you say this thought: I can't pay all the bills. All right, go ahead and say that to me. And what I'm going to do is I'm as a friend, knowing that I'm doing this, disclosing that, hey, I want to try this and see if this is any benefit. And at first it might seem a little odd, but just kind of go with it. It's kind of a role-playing thing where we're just kind of playing a game. That's what we're doing here, Lisa. So go ahead and tell me that you can't pay all your bills.
I can't pay all my bills.
Oh my gosh.
It's really causing a lot of anxiety.
You can't pay all your bills?
Right.
Well, if you can't pay all your bills, that makes you a horrible person.
No.
I mean, were you aware of that?
No, I didn't know it was a cause and effect.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't pay all your bills, then your credit report's going to go bad. You're never going to be able to get a loan again. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Lisa. They used to put people in prison for stuff like this. They called them debtors' prisons. I can't believe that you can't pay all your bills. In fact, not only does it make you a horrible person, I think it probably makes you a horrible mom. Wouldn't you think it would make you a horrible mom too?
Horrible.
Is Lisa there? I think Lisa just hung up on me.
Yep, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Well, what I said is I said not only does it make you a horrible person, if you are, if you're not being able to pay your bills, it seems like that would make you a horrible mom too.
Right. Exactly. It's all connected.
Now, if you're a horrible mom and you're paying a horrible, how could you possibly live with yourself?
I don't know.
Are you
Can you hear me,
preoccupied?
Derek? No, can you hear me, Derek?
I can hear you just fine.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm a little preoccupied. I'm back in the game now. Yes,
Okay.
it would make me a horrible mom, a horrible person, everything. But I think you're kind of full of it.
Why would you think I'm full of it?
Because it's not cause and effect. One part of not being able to do something doesn't make you a horrible person. And there's all kinds of ways that I'm a good mom, and there's all kinds of ways that my worth as a mom isn't based on that.
Well, like what? What could make you a good mom if you can't pay your bills?
How I love my children, the things that I say to them, the ways that I help them understand God, the other ways I provide for them.
Okay, we'll stop right there. You see what we just did? We just used this kind of paradoxical devil's advocate technique to basically externalize the voice of the devil. Because see, inside the devil's saying to you, you're going to be a horrible mom if you don't pay your bills. See, what we do is externalize it, and then the person that you're talking with starts fighting back. And what's happening is Lisa isn't really fighting against me. She's fighting against the enemy. She's fighting against the devil because she's fighting against the lies. The enemy is the father of lies. I'm shooting lies at her, and then she immediately, naturally wants to go, no, 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 that doesn't make any sense. When she's saying, no, it doesn't make any sense, she then is moving towards truth. It's an absolutely fabulous way of working with people and
Right.
moving from the thought to the belief. Lisa, do you have anything else to add?
No, it just, it automatically highlights how extreme your thinking is when someone just takes it to the next level.
Yeah, exactly. Brent, anything else to add? I think Brent is gone for a minute.
Sorry, I had myself muted there. No, I was there. I was just messing with my mute button. Sorry. No, nothing to add.
Okay. All right. So we see what we just did. We took this, I can't pay all the bills, right here, which is simple thought, and that thought is what's creating the anxiety. It comes back to here, thought, emotions, actions. The thought's creating the anxiety, and that thought is a distortion, but our goal is to get to the belief. We've showed two different ways to be able to get to that belief. This is what some people call downward arrow technique. You can do this personally, or you can do this with other people. The second thing we did,
Hey, Derek.
yeah.
We have a question here, and the question came in, and it says, so her value as a mom is based on what she does for her kids? ? 3 times.
Yeah. And so then we could go through there and say, okay, so your value as a mom is based on what you do for your kids. Okay, so Lisa will role play this one too, okay?
Okay.
So I say to you, I say, okay, Lisa, it sounds like what you're saying then is that as long as you do stuff for your kids, then that makes you a good mom.
Well, I need to do good stuff for my kids. I'm supposed to socialize them. I'm supposed to provide for them. Yes.
Okay. And so, like, all the time or some of the time or?
Well, most of the time, because mothers that don't are people that you think of that are neglectful or not good mothers.
Okay. So most of the time you should be a good, you should treat them well, I guess is what you're saying?
Right.
Or
Of
what you do
taking
for
care
them,
of
I
it.
guess is what you, okay. So if you most of the time do things for them, then that makes you a good mom.
Yes.
You
Kind of.
you hesitated. What would be wrong with that?
Well, because I know that there aren't times that you're always going to be able to do good things. And, I mean, I think about mothers who are, like, physically handicapped. And so
Okay.
there are a lot of tangible things that they can't do for their kids, but yet they're still good moms.
Okay. So maybe there's something a little awry about doing things for your kids makes you a good mom.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Perhaps.
we're going to take this a step further here in a second. I love the question, and we're going to nail it to the ground here in just a few minutes. So bear with me. But as we take a little sidebar, what did I just do? Back to here. This is a technique called empathy. Empathy is when, in its most basic form, is when we repeat and rephrase what the person that we're talking to is saying in order for them to see it more clearly. And another way of saying using empathy is when I put myself in Lisa's shoes and attempt to see things from her perspective and then communicate them back to her so she can see them. And so that's exactly what I did. I said, okay, so your value is based. She goes, yeah. Well, what do you think about it? Well, most do think. So you're saying that for most, so the actual question that then posed her was, a good mom is a mom who does most of the time does things good for their kids, or does things for the kids, I guess is what I should say. Most of the time does things for the kids. That's a good mom. And then notice, all I did was repeat back to her what she said, and she goes, well, I'm not exactly sure that, well, sort of, but then there's these circumstances that I don't know that would really make sense. But look, she starts questioning her own illogical statement because I repeat back to her what she said. That is another way of facilitating. It's another way. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think empathy gives people psychological air to figure out some things for themselves. I think that's the term we've used before.
Now, and that's exactly what I did here, is I demonstrated what empathy looks like in real life with Lisa. Now, we run into a much bigger issue, and I'll ask Lisa something now to hopefully moves us along. She said, most of the time, a good mom does things for their kids. In other words, if a woman, most of the time, does things for their kids, for her kids, then that makes her a good mom. Now, think about that for a second and ask, what is wrong with that logic? Again, let me repeat it. If the thought is that if most of the time you do things for your kids, then that makes you a good mom, what's the risk?
Well, my worth becomes based on my children's perception of me, and they can manipulate me.
Interesting. When you decide that your goodness comes from how much you do for the kids and the kids catch on to that, you are in big trouble with Maddie Pay. All right?
Amen.
As soon as Maddie, who is what grade is she in?
14, she's 9th.
Okay, she's a freshman. As soon as your freshman figures out that you have connected good momminess with doing things for her, she will make sure that she reminds you, good moms do things for me. And she will make sure that she reminds you daily with a list of things to do for her in order for you to live up to your own good momminess. Okay, so there's something really, really problematic about this. In fact, I'm going to take it one step further. Bear with me because we're going to go a little deeper now. If you Lisa, or any mom that's listening, are doing things for your kids, okay? Because you think that's going to make you a good mom, who are you doing things for?
Yeah, ultimately it's for myself.
Yep.
Okay. So what have we seen happen? Talk about deception. First of all, the enemy gets you to believe that you need to do things for your kids to be a good mom, which is absolutely ludicrous. Then he says, well, if you can most of the time do things for your kids, then that's what makes you a good mom. You can feel good about yourself then. And then you wake up and realize you're doing things for your kids to support you feeling good as a mom, and realize that the whole time you're not loving your kids at all because you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. You're doing it so you can feel good about yourself. This is wonderful, we'll say beautiful deception. This is beautiful enemy deception. He loves this. You know what he loves about this? He loves the fact that you can wake up and be manipulated by your children. He loves the fact that after years of manipulation, you'll resent your children. He loves the fact that the children will grow up thinking that they're entitled to someone doing things for them all their life. He loves the destruction that that will create in their life. He loves the disconnection from a mom to a daughter that will happen as the daughter disrespects the mom because of this belief system she has that says, my goodness comes from doing things for my kids. Do you see how ugly this can get?
Yeah. Because in essence, then you're really kind of using your children.
Absolutely.
Well, in essence, you're breaking their legs.
Explain that. I'm assuming that's a metaphor.
Well, yeah, I mean, many times we think what we're doing for someone, we're doing something good for them. Like you said, the entitlement lie.
Yeah.
What we've just done is we've made them feel entitled, which, as they're growing older, is like breaking their legs.
Yeah. Yeah, you're actually hurting your children by trying to make yourself feel better. Okay?
Right.
Now, what's the solution? There really is only one solution. And the solution is the goodness as a person and as a mom, right here, cannot come from outside of yourself. It can't come from the two things we've been talking about. It can't come from money. Holy cow, we've got a lot of these slides going. It can't come from money, or that will make you absolutely crazy. It can't come from your kids, or that will end up in a massive destruction. And when I say destruction, I just mean relational mess. So what and where do we go? And here we come back to this verse that we mentioned early on tonight. For in Christ Jesus, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision means anything. In other words, what you do means nothing. Interesting, isn't it? Right here. So your value as a mom is based on what you do for your kids. And Paul is saying, in Christ Jesus, what you do, that's what he means by neither circumcision nor uncircumcision means anything. What you do means nothing. But faith working through love. So how do we connect the dots with this last beautiful phrase, faith working through love? Here's how we do it. We try to find our goodness as a mom from these things. God has a different thing waiting for us. He says, look, when you believe, your faith is credited to you as righteousness. That's in Galatians chapter 3. Or excuse me, Romans chapter 3. Sorry, I've been in Galatians too long. In Romans chapter 3. Your faith is credited to you as righteousness. What do you mean righteousness? This means you are already good enough. Okay, not because of what you do. We just said that back here in verse 6. Isn't what you do? What you do isn't what does it. Your faith. When Jesus, when the Holy Spirit, when God comes into your life, he gives you his righteousness. That's what makes you good enough, is him in you. That's what completes you as a person, as a mom, etc. Now, you no longer have to go get it from your kids. You no longer have to go get it from money. But guess what? In this moment where you already are good enough, where you're already righteous, now, out of that, is there any reason that you would have to do something for your kids to feel better about yourself?
No.
No. Look, right back here. There would be never a reason that you would have to do things for your kids to feel better or to be a good mom or to feel as a good mom. Because why? God in you has already made you good enough. So now you no longer have to try to get goodness from your kids or doing things for your kids. So what happens? If you're already good enough, now when you give to your kids, are you doing it because you're trying to get something out of it?
No, you're doing it because you need nothing from them anymore.
You don't need anything from them anymore. So now this giving to your kids is real love. Not this kind of love over here that we're calling love, but was really codependent. This is real love. Now I can give to my kids.
What's the phrase? As long as I need something from you, I will manipulate you.
Yeah, 100% of the time, that's that whole thing. That if my self-worth comes from what you think of me, then I will manipulate you to get my needs met.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. So God says, no, wait a second, or Paul says, excuse me, he says, wait a second. What happens is this faith, which is righteousness, this goodness is what allows you then to extend yourself to your kids, not because you need something back from them, but because you already have everything you need, and out of that, you naturally want to give. Now you're loving, not yourself, you're loving them. Now we have a foundation that we can grow from, relationally and individually. But until faith first occurs, the love can't possibly be extended. Oh, yeah, it can, Derek. You know, I can love somebody even if I don't have faith. No, because if you're extending love without already being good enough, you will be extending the love for the purpose of getting something back, and getting something from somebody is the opposite of loving. Again, you can see it's a little deeper, but it's incredibly powerful. Can you imagine what it would be like to live with your kids in a way that says, I am going to give to you, but I'm not giving to you because I need to feel good about myself, so I'm going to go do it. Or I'm going to give to you so you'll treat me good or like me better as a mom, or I'll feel better as a person. I'm not doing it anymore out of the selfish reasons. I can actually love, and love purely. Okay, I'm not sure who asked that question, but I'd love any follow-up question to it, or if you think we, put the nail in the coffin, that's fine too.
I bet Austin asked it.
He did.
Yep.
Austin, anything else? I know you can't talk because you don't have headphones. Do you have anything else you want to add to that, Austin? I know you can hear me, you just can't talk.
Well, he'd started a thing, and I'm trying to see if it finished up here. He had a thing he had posted. He started off and he said, for in Christ neither our most conscientious religion nor disregard of religion amounts to anything. What matters is something far, and then I don't have anything. Let me see if there's something wrong with there it is. It's something far more interior. Yeah, like just what we talked about earlier tonight, about 2 hours ago. Faith expressed in love.
Yeah, absolutely. Did he put a verse to that? That sounds like it's out of the Message.
Oh, boy, I'm trying to think where that,
Yeah.
I think that might have come from the Message.
Yeah. Austin, if you have that verse, I'd love to pull it up.
I like the term interior.
I think that's out of Galatians.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it's the verse we were talking about, but it's out of the Message. It sounded familiar. For in Christ neither our most conscientious religion nor disregarded religion amounts to anything. What matters is something far more interior, faith expressed in love. This is, Eugene Peterson does an amazing job paraphrasing Scripture in a way that just comes to life. He's so poetic. Thanks for guiding us to that, Austin, to that particular verse. Again, neither our most conscientious religion nor disregarded religion amounts to anything. Nothing we do amounts to anything. What matters is something far more interior. The faith is what matters. Now, of course, the paradox is the faith becomes expressed in love. So there is an action to it, but the do isn't what causes the transformation. The love is the result of the transformation, not the cause of the transformation. Faith is the cause of a transformed life. Love is a result of the transformed life. Okay. Who else? Anybody else have any questions or comments?
No, not right this second.
Okay. Heather, you still with us?
Yeah, I am. I'm thinking.
Oh, okay. What are your thoughts on this? Is it confusing, or does it sound a little ridiculous, or what are you thinking?
Oh no, I think it's awesome. It's so true. It's definitely true. I love this last quote that you wrote. Faith is the cause of transformation and love is the result. Because I'm actually learning that right now in my life. I just love it.
Okay.
I've been realizing that, God just showed me the other day that when I fear anything, even the fear of being wrong, like, okay, I'm afraid to walk out on what I think God's saying because I might be wrong. Even that is against God because I'm fearing, and fear is not from God.
Exactly.
And so I really like that quote. I think it's really cool.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. Reagan, are you still there? Are you there?
Yep.
Okay.
She's real quiet.
She's real quiet. I can't hear you. I can hear you say yes, but very, very softly. Let's see who else we have here. Glenn, are you? Yeah.
I wanted to say too.
Go ahead, Heather.
I wanted to say too that it's not confusing. It's good. It's clear. I like it.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks. Sometimes I do confuse myself, so I always like to ask. Hold on, let's get Glenn, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, you're loud and clear. Very, very good. Any thoughts on this evening? I don't know what time you were able to get on the webinar. Maybe.
Oh, I got here about 1:15, but it's
okay.
About a month and a half ago, I got to run some good friends of mine through this exact scenario and putting all the stuff down on paper. And the couple basically had a 26-year-old daughter living with them, just abusing them, not helping out. I don't need the help. And, of course, they're getting very mad at her. And it was all the daughter's fault. And it was just really cool being able to run it through the process, showing them that it was because of basically the mother getting her worth through the daughter.
Yep.
As to what was caught. And she just stood there and stared at the paper and studied it for like 45 minutes nonstop. She knew what she had to do, but she wasn't sure she was at a point that she could do it. It took her a couple of weeks, but she did finally stand up in a loving manner and put her foot down.
Because the mom realized that she was living life based on a false belief.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And once that is recognized, then the actions, okay, yeah, a couple weeks, but how, Jiminy Christmas, a couple weeks, that's nothing compared to the 40 years she's lived, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, this belief then naturally comes out as an action. When we get the belief healthy, the action's going to follow healthily, right? And here's the thing, guys. You and we don't need to be going around telling people how to act. All we need to do is talk with people about what they believe. Because once the belief gets in line, the actions will follow suit.
Mm-hmm.
So we
that's
don't have
great. Yeah, that's good.
Yep. Yeah. We spend so much time on the actions.
Yeah, we don't have to spend any time on the actions. They'll take care of themselves. What we need to be doing is pointing people towards God's truth. When
we sure want to camp on that action, though, don't we?
It's difficult for us to not really want to live in that space. However, Our goal is to focus on God's truth, because here's the thing. You might think you can manipulate somebody into changing their action, but ultimately nobody is going to change anybody, not really change, except God. And so if we point them towards God's truth will change this action. That's the only way real transformation can occur.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, who else we got here?
Got Steve there.
Guys, Steve's on the phone. Hey, Steve, how you doing? Are you alive today, Steve? I think Steve left us.
I think he did.
Steve went to the bathroom. Or maybe his headphones aren't working. Okay. Very good. Thank you so much for that feedback. But Kathy, I can't hear Kathy either, can I? Because we got to get her headphones.
No.
Okay. Anybody else? We're going to wrap up here in just about 30 seconds probably, unless anybody else has anything to add. Wow, I really love Austin has his hand up. I don't know if I can hear him, though.
Let's see here.
So I don't know that I can unmute him.
He had thrown another question, and I was looking at...
Okay.
I don't see his question. Austin, if you have a question, but I'm not... I see your last comment to me, but I don't see your question. Let me see if something's wrong with mine. There it is. It's a paradox. The more you try to change people, the more resistant they are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It really is. Let's go back to what we were just talking about. And here's what's so funny, and Austin brings this up, and it's very crucial. Here's what's so funny. First of all, logically, it only makes sense that God's truth that changes this belief will then work itself out into the action. Okay? But we have a tendency to want to focus on this action when we're talking with people, as opposed to focusing on the belief or focusing on God's truth. But what Austin's bringing up is something even more powerful, which is, or just as powerful, which is, okay, guys, go ahead and try it. Try this way. Here's what I want you to do, and this is the kind of thing I say. I say, let's say, for instance, you want to change your spouse's actions, okay?
Hey, you're getting a little personal.
Let's say you want to do that. Well, here's what I want you to do is I want you to go home tonight, and, well, you're all probably home. When we get off the webinar, what I'd like you to do is go up to your spouse and tell them exactly what they need to do, when they need to do it, and how they need to do it. And then look at their face and see what happens next. I think you might find it don't work. And at least it doesn't work in my house. And I really doubt if it works in many houses. In other words, what Austin is saying here is, we might think focusing on the action may do us some good. Just try it. I remember talking to, it was doing some marriage counseling or something a week or so ago. I was talking to a guy, and he was just like, the thing of it is just my wife, she just never changes. And I just asked him, I said, well, how many years have you tried changing her? He goes, about 17. And I'm like, so you spent 17 years trying to change your wife, and she still hasn't changed? And it hit him. You've spent 17 years trying to change your wife, and she still hasn't changed. What's wrong with this picture? It don't work. 17 years is long enough to know that it don't work. Stop trying. And I think that's how Austin would say it. Anyways, I know Austin well enough to know that he'd be very forthright and kind of in your face about it. So, okay, anything else?
I really like the part about the belief being changed, because until you added that in there, I was like, okay, so I know what the thought is, but how do I get rid of that wrong thought? And understanding that we have to change our belief, that's just been really powerful for me and for some friends that I've talked to.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's definitely real.
Yeah. See, again, go ahead, Brent.
And the other thing, too, is like what you just said when you were talking about, somebody else. And that whole belief thing, it's got to change. Again, when do our beliefs begin to change? Again, a lot of, revelation. And so it allows us to be able to stay in the game with someone and be patient, as God is the one who is revealing things to them through whatever the time schedule is, what they're going through, what's been happening in their life. It's that thing. It's you can't teach it. It's got to be revealed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. If we, again, psychology can try to move you into a different thought, but ultimately we've got to get to the belief. And some psychology can get you to a belief that changes, but no psychology can get you to a belief that frees you. Freedom comes from Christ. There is no human thought that can cause this to happen. You can think all you want about how good you are, but you will wake up every morning and go, no, I'm not. Because you realize you can't do good enough to be good enough. Somebody has to make you good for you to feel good about yourself. You can't make yourself feel good. That's where Christ comes in. That's why he died on the cross. That's what that's all about. Okay, so we'll end with, I think we'll end with that. Brent, anything else?
No, this is all good stuff.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Brent, will you pray, and then we'll call it quits for the night?
Yeah, absolutely. God, you are the revealer and giver of all knowledge. And God, you are amazing that you don't just give us what we think we want. It's like that commercial. You got to give me what I want. You got to give me what I need. I'm laughing at that commercial because I'm thinking about just how self-centered that is. But God, you understand what we really do need. And at the core, what we really want is you. And the enemy tries to deceive us that we think we want so many other things. But God, in your grace and your love and your patience, you wait for us to be able to see the only thing that we want, the only thing that we need truly, that cries out from our core who we really are is for you. Thank you for loving us in your way, not always giving us what we want, but truly giving us what we need. And God, thank you for these truths and the way we're being able to learn it and apply it to our lives. Help us to remember what we've learned in those moments when we truly need it. And again, God, thank you for your revealing hand. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen.